Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Marked by the Sky. With me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Bill Skywatcher.
What's going on this evening at the beginning of the week in Roswell? What's going on in your neck of the woods now? Anything interesting?
Monday already. Yeah.
Another week
yeah.
of frustration, actually. We'll get into that a little bit.
Won't go into too much detail, but I will say that me and Paul Simones, who runs the Roswell UFO tours here, were out on a trip. My wife tagged along, and we were at a certain
location.
But yeah, maybe something crashed there. I don't know, but it's somewhere I've only been to one time now. That was my first time going. So shout out to Paul for finding it. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm sure. I know you really can't say much, but let's just follow it up this way. Will you both, or all three of you, be going back to that location?
Oh, absolutely.
That says it all. So, I mean, it's one thing to go somewhere and say, there's nothing here, nothing to see here. But that's why I had to ask that question, because it seems like you guys are a little bit interested in that area that you went to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it out of you. But, Toby, it is just so frustrating with this UAP stuff. Trying to get the funding, for the fiscal year. We know that they tried to do another amendment to the Gillibrand, Schumer rounds. I think Rubio is also associated to that. And it looks like it's a nothing. It doesn't look like that. And the great work by someone who we possibly may have on as a future guest on this show, Matt Laszlo. I mean, this guy, if anyone, he's on it. He asks the relevant questions. At least somebody's out there trying to get the information.
Oh, yeah, he does a fantastic job. I just texted him with him the other day. Hopefully we'll get him on next week. But, yeah, if you want to talk about actual boots on the ground at the Capitol, asking the relevant questions for those of us that are into the UAP topic, he is the number one source, in my opinion.
He does incredible work, Toby.
Yeah, and I think actually he had a recent follow-up with, who was it? Was it Rounds? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Was it? Who said the amendment is not actually dead in the water yet?
But if you go to Matt's site, which is, I'm looking at it right now, askapoll, POL.com, on September 25th, there's actually an article by Matt, and it's with Rounds. And he says, he asked the question to Rounds, and he says, what happened to your amendment with Schumer in the NDAA, or National Defense Authorization Act? And he said, Senator Mike Rounds said, like you just referenced, the NDAA is not out yet. And then he said, we're hearing it's being gutted again. We'll see. That's what Rounds said to Matt. So, I mean, there is, you've heard the talk. There is a lot of people saying it's dead. It's not going to happen. It's gutted. See, Toby, I think here's where the problem lies. Look what's going on right now globally, with all the threats popping up everywhere. It's global. Try not to say it's aliens or it's interdimensionals. There's two key things. We are dealing with a national security threat of unknown aerial phenomenon. We are. And that alone, even if you take out the other part of it, the extraterrestrial or interdimensional or whatever other source, that to me is so important for the national security of our country in itself. Take that other stuff out. Why aren't you guys putting any kind of fiscal attention to this threat? Because it is a threat, whether you want to say it's China, Russia, North Korea. Something should be done. You don't necessarily have to say it's extraterrestrial, it's aliens. But, in general, you should say, well, this is needed. And also the non-human intelligence aspect, that could be AI, artificial intelligence, that is controlling so many things. So, you don't have to say it's extraterrestrial in nature. So many believe that we are experiencing something like that or interdimensional. But put it in the phrasing when you ask them questions that we do have to worry about a national security risk of this country from unknowns. Simple. To me, that's cut and dry, simple.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, we've had several incidents now where these swarms of, I'll just call them drones, have been over sensitive military facilities and have actually shut them down, some for days on end. That's a big problem. Like you said, whether it is a foreign country, a foreign adversary, something from outer space, whatever, this is a very serious topic. These things can't keep happening.
And this has been going on for decades as far as shutting down our nuclear silos, missile silos. I mean, we've heard about this throughout the world, really. Even with Rendlesham, because at the time it wasn't known that they had a nuclear stockpile of weapons there. And I mean, was that the reason? If the story is correct that it was something, I don't even want to say extraterrestrial, because I don't know if John Burroughs and some of the other people would say it was extraterrestrial in nature or some kind of a time warp thing, that something appeared or from another dimension. But regardless, was that the reason that this happened at that base? Because of it was the location of that. Again, the world did not know at the time, but there were nuclear weapons supposedly stored at that location at that time.
Well, not just that. There was a lot of experimentation with different technologies going on in that triangle area right there. And if you can go to, I think John Burroughs did a series with Professor Simon Holland on YouTube where they go into what was being worked on, these different technologies that could have somehow been involved with either causing what happened or bringing in what happened. And that's on top of the nuclear aspect. So it's a fascinating to dive into, and there's still a lot unfolding on it, even almost 45 years later. So yeah, it's fascinating. A lot of people seem to think that things like nuclear weapons or radar testing, attract the phenomenon. And I can tell you from my experience going through dozens of old newspaper archives back in the 40s, 50s, places like White Sands where they were testing these different technologies. We had scientists, and I mean some high up scientists, that were seeing things flying over that they couldn't identify. And these were people that were at the head of these, groundbreaking programs. So it's been going on for, like you said, for decades.
Yeah.
And the proof is there for anybody that goes back and just looks.
So going back to Matt, because like I said, I was looking at his website. Incredible, the work that he does trying to get to ask the questions of these representatives in Congress. And he ran into Representative Nancy Mace, and she's the chairwoman of Oversight Committee Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, IT, and Government Innovation. And he asked her any public update on who the witnesses are going to be at the public November 13th UAP hearing you're chairing. And her response was, I wanted to have a military vet. I think it's important to have more than just one, more than just academics. I need people who may have seen some, and I'm just going to quote her, shit. They may have seen some shit and can tell us some stuff. I want people who've actually seen and heard and read, like, it's just important. So I moved the dates back. I met, this is still quoting her, I met with Representative Tim Burchett and with Luna to get them on why they wanted this guy. I think he's an admiral that does USOs, and that's probably Gallaudet.
It is. It is.
On USOs stuff. More than happy to have him testify. Still quoting, but the witnesses will be different and they'll bring different information to the table. So now, they're expanding it to go into maybe a broader area, not just looking at what's going on above, but bringing Rear Admiral of the Navy at the time, Tim Gallaudet, to come in and testify there. I'm really curious. Are you hearing any rumblings on who maybe some of these key witnesses are going to be at this November 13th hearing?
I know Gallaudet came out and confirmed, I think on LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken, that he will be testifying. So that is a big deal because USOs obviously have been a large part of this topic. You hear terms thrown around a lot, like transmedium.
Yeah.
Able to transition from the water to the air without any resistance. And I mean, recently, Lou Elizondo, who's been making a lot of appearances on shows, talked about a object that moves underwater the size of, I think, a city block, he said, at like 400 knots. So there's rumors going around that he might possibly be testifying as well, but I've heard nothing concrete to that effect. And if you're talking about a city block size object moving faster than submarines we have underwater, then yeah, I'd like to know what the hell that is.
So do I. For something that large, I mean, it's hard enough for our subs. They really don't go that fast underwater. People, I may say, 30, 40 miles per hour, but we're talking like Mark D'Antonio, a friend of ours. He was part of that film that Darcy, the Transmediums, Fast Movers, USO, and Gallaudet was on that as well, and Mark. And Mark talks about his experience when he was on that nuclear submarine, where he heard the person that was sitting at the sonar, I believe, saying, I've picked something up and it's a fast mover. Something to that effect. And Mark is like, oh, what's going on here? And it was supposedly moving like at, I don't remember the number. I don't know if it was 100 or 200 knots underwater. And it's not a missile. I mean, not a missile, a torpedo. So what the heck is that? So that was interesting. There are people that have been on or involved in this USO activity. So something is definitely going on there as well. I think it'd be great to hear a little bit about what this USO stuff is going on, especially with Gallaudet appearing at the hearing.
Yeah, I agree completely. And that brings up another topic I wanted to discuss. My friend, and you also know him, David Marler, is opening the National UFO Historic Record Center in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. The grand opening is going to be the 22nd of October. And I was on the phone with him about a month ago, and he was talking about a presentation he gave where he had former Navy people come up to him afterwards because he was presenting on USOs. And they told him, oh, yeah, there's something to it, keep on digging. So the archive is going to be amazing. He has, I'm assuming, if not the largest, one of the largest collections of historical records, documents. He's got the stuff from CUFOs. He's got the original Project Blue Book files. We're talking, they're going to fill a whole school building with this stuff, and it's going to be accessible by researchers and the public. So anybody that's interested, just Google David Marler, National UFO Historic Record Center. It's a fantastic project, and yeah, he has quite a few old documents on USOs as well. So once again, not new phenomenon, but now it's being talked about in the mainstream. So interesting times we're living in.
It's interesting because when we were in Roswell, at least when I was at Roswell with KGRA last year, twice, it's unfortunate that we didn't have the time to go to David Marler's home to see the vast collection. I mean, is that all the stuff that he has in those cabinet files? Is he moving that as well? Is like his entire collection, or is it just a select? Is the entire collection moving?
That my understanding is the entire collection is going to be available for people to go in and just do research on.
Wow!
And we're talking
a lot.
So many different collections. Yeah. Not only that, but I'm sure there's different types of media. I mean, a lot of it's documentation, but he's also got audio tapes, videotapes. It's a fantastic effort, and it's something that a lot of us in this field are always worried about. A lot of the more original researchers that haven't passed away, they're getting up there in age, and then
yep.
What happens to this stuff when they go,
Yep.
I've
Oh,
seen
totally.
cases of people who I tried to communicate with and get information from, and as soon as they passed away, the kids just threw everything out. So
I think, do not quote me on this. I think that MUFON has Leonard Stringfield stuff. I think it's MUFON that now is in the possession of a
they,
lot of his research. And for those that are viewing this or listening, this is something, it's complete data, it's complete research. There's a couple of images in here, but this right here is something I would suggest if you're interested in the topic that you grab this, because it's a great reference book on cases. See, that's the thing, Toby. We always hear the familiar cases. No offense to you being in Roswell, but we always hear the same. People don't realize how much information is out there that they have no idea because they've never heard about it. Like you said, what Marler has is just beyond. It's massive. I mean, the information that is in his possession and now is going over to that archives is going to be incredible. When I was at the museum, the Roswell Museum, I couldn't believe all the stuff they have. All those documents and all the records. When Donald Schmidt took us to the back when we were there and showed us the room with all that stuff. And that's open for the public. They can go in there and they can go through all the different categories and catalog that they have there. That's a big, massive collection as well. And I couldn't believe some of the stuff I was seeing in there. It was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, they do have a large collection, but again, David Marler's makes that look like
yeah, but
small. But there's a lot of cases people don't know about, including us. I mean, we had Graham Rendell on here, was it last week? And he was talking about cases with shapes of UFOs I've never even would have imagined. I mean, was it rectangular? So throughout the years, there's so many cases that probably haven't been put more into the mainstream, like Roswell. No offense taken, by the way, Bill. But no, I mean, even just in New Mexico, just from the research I've done in the archives, there's some amazing cases. I mean, if someone wants to go and see one that completely blows my mind, and I know David has more on this, the Farmington, New Mexico Armada. Go ahead and look that up. You're talking about an entire town seeing these things for several hours, what appeared to be dogfighting in the air. I mean, why aren't cases like that more talked about? And I think these archives, like you're talking about, this gives people a chance to go in and read about these, and hopefully current researchers, future researchers will start to bring these cases up more of the lesser known ones.
It's actually amazing you said about the rectangle shaped objects. Here in Pine Bush, that has been reported. All types of shapes have been reported here in the Hudson Valley over the decades of people claiming to see, have sightings of this stuff. Not far from where I lived, the Taconic, that seems to be like a hot spot during the 80s. Police officers chasing something down. Matter of fact, this is a true story. And now I saw this individual about 2 months ago. He's a retired New York Parks Department police officer. And he told me, Bill, I just want to put this behind me. I really don't want to talk about it anymore. And, I understand, but he is a significant witness because he was on the Taconic Parkway in his vehicle. And he's seen what he says was larger than a football field hovering over him. A craft, silent, right over him. Then, coming from the north on the Taconic were police vehicles. And it's like out of the movie Close Encounters. They were chasing this object. Then the object went to the south as the police cars kept chasing it. Now, Michael Schratt's theory is, and I'm one to believe this theory too, is that Stormville Airport, which is in the area, it's in Dutchess County, at the time, it's no longer open, but at the time, it is said that they used small planes and they put decoy lights on them and flew them out like days, weeks after this event happened to try to say, oh, you were just seeing a bunch of planes in formation. To try to get people to believe that. But there were so many witnesses, Toby, police officers, not on the record because they worry about their jobs, their livelihoods. You hear that all the time, that they're not going to make a police report. And then even their coworkers, their peers joke, you're the guy who's in the UFO guy. This is the UFO guy now. But yes, all types of shapes going back have been seen throughout the world, really. As you mentioned, it was Graham talking about it. And I think that was in the UK, right? When he said that happened. I mean, over here it's happening too. So all this stuff is going on, but I think that's important for the public to realize. It's not just the cases you all hear about all the time and it becomes redundant and over. There's so much out there and so many witnesses. And through all types of livelihoods, you're talking ordinary folks. I've seen stuff. You've experienced stuff. I mean, a lot of us are just people that just happen to be out there and we catch something. But also we always hear about the military folks, the police, the people that people put maybe a little bit more credibility behind them. But to me, I think everybody's story should be heard. They're just as a viable witness, after you vet them and you talk to them and you see exactly what they're talking about. Because a lot of the time, Toby, they could see, like I do a lot of sky watches. It could be a plane coming towards you and it's just a point of light and it looks like it's not moving. You know what I mean? You can be fooled by something like that, or a meteor, or whatever it is. But I think it's really important to hear all these different types of cases and the people that have seen stuff. It happens all the time.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you bring up the police angle. I was just looking on my phone a couple of weeks ago. A friend of the station and our friend Stanley Milford, the Paranormal Rangers, sent me this thing that's been going around. It's a reference guide for unidentified anomalous phenomenon for law enforcement.
He sent me the same thing.
Yes. And so it's interesting because Marianne, who is also on the station, has talked about this at length, that what they're trying to do with UAPPD, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Marianne Robb and Dave Rich, I believe.
Yes. I spoke with them at length about it, and that's, like you said, it's part of the stigma. You're law enforcement. You see something, you don't want to become known as the Bigfoot guy, the UFO guy, because then that can be brought up in court. And in court, that could seriously kill your credibility. So there's probably thousands of sightings that law enforcement, first responders have had that, like you said, they just kept it to themselves because it could ruin their credibility. That's not to say they didn't see something. That's to say that that's kind of the stigma in society. So seeing things like this reporting guide for police being handed out to police departments, it's a bigger deal than a lot of people realize. It's almost a paradigm shift. Things that were supposed to be kept hush-hush, now there's guides telling them how to deal with it. So just like you're seeing with groups like Americans for Safe Aerospace, Ryan Graves' group, and I'm sure I butchered the name, but AIAA has one too. They're getting more reports now from pilots who always kept quiet because it affected their job,
You're going to get a psyche eval.
Yep. And guess what? You're not flying. You're
grounded.
Exactly.
And I don't mean to laugh about it because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, you're not laughing because they're crazy. You're laughing because they genuinely see something, and a lot of times they have recordings, and they're still told, you know what? You're grounded for a while, or the police, like I said, in court. Oh, by the way, officer, can you tell me, are you the one who claims they saw a Bigfoot walking down the side of the road when you were investigating this? Yep. Yes. So the jury's going to hear that, and they're going to go, cuckoo.
Yep. And that reflects any case they're involved in moving forward. They refer to you. They'll always bring that up in a courtroom. Are you that person? It's kind of interesting that J. Allen Hynek played a cameo in the film Close Encounters, Third Kind. At the beginning of that film, it has the air traffic controller speaking to a pilot about a UFO. And the conversation, would you like to actually go on the record and report that UFO? No, I don't. That's what happens. It's incredible because that actually, even though it's a fictionalized movie, that is what really does happen, Toby, that they're not going to jeopardize their career and say, I'm going on the record and risk everything and report it. And that happens across the board, like you mentioned, first responders, police officers, etc. And another problem, including with the Air Force and through the military branch, a lot of them that are currently serving, not retired, they're not going to come forward. We always wait for the people that retire, then they come out and start. And right away people say, oh, they just want to write a book, make some money, but they can get penalized criminally if they speak too much that's from a classified setting. People don't realize they just cannot talk about it. They can be arrested. It's classified.
Yeah, and that's, you're serving your country. The last thing you want to do is go and violate any oath you've given. So it puts people in a bad spot because, you could be out on a classified mission and see something that completely blows your mind, but you can't talk about it. And I know people get upset like, oh, they need to just come forward and say it, but that's a lot of risk to ask an individual to put themselves at.
Here's another little reference from Matt, and I'm not going to get it because you folks, you need to visit his website, askapoll.com. UAP caucus co-chair Luna teases November 13th witnesses, quote, you guys will be happy. Now, whatever that means, who's going to be there? She's worked in tandem with Burchett and some of the others in there. And here's one that he asked to Luna, and we're going to get into this in a future show. Have you gotten a briefing on the James Webb Space Telescope? And she just simply said no. All the stuff that's been going on out there. The Armada's on the way.
Well,
other different theories. What do we make of that, Toby? What the heck do we make? Because there's been hints about this prior to this really coming to the forefront now for quite some time by different people within the field.
So it's interesting you bring up Matt asking that question because he caused quite a stir when he asked, I think, Andre Carson, if he had a briefing, and his response was no comment, which people immediately took as, okay, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So, yeah, these rumors have been going on for a while. We had Pavel on the show recently to talk about it. It's what to make of it. I don't know. I know what I've been told. And for me, I'm someone I've got to see the proof, and I've got to be able to present it.
Exactly.
Because I can tell you, oh, I heard this or I heard that. That it doesn't make it true.
It's a credibility issue, Toby. It's when people start running off on some of these adventures, taking something and going with it without vetting, doing the research to see what are the sources, what's the credibility behind this. There's so much stuff out there. You got to do the homework. You got to do the research. You got to find out if there's any sliver of even a hint of truth behind it that would make you go further to look into it more. But you just can't go out on a limb and say, oh, this. No, to me, that's totally irresponsible to do that. But what you just mentioned, because Matt did, have you ever been in a classified briefing on the James Webb Telescope? And that, like you said, he said no comment. And he also said, Carson, thoughts, this is what Matt asked, Thoughts on the upcoming House UAP hearing on November 13th. This is the quote from Carson. Listen, the public wants to know and hear, but can you have a party without us on the House Intelligence Committee? Or can you have a party without us? I don't understand what he's trying to say there. Do you? I mean, that doesn't make too much sense to me. Listen, the public wants to know and hear, but can you have a party without us? What does that mean?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like there's a lot of people that are trying to diminish all of this, these hearings, period. Like, it's horrible when you look at some of these hearings. It's one of those side rooms. It's a small room. Where is everybody? Why isn't anybody taking this serious? As I mentioned at the onset of the show, it's not just talking, you want to bring up the extraterrestrial aspect or whatever, non-human. It's the unidentified aerial threat that this country faces. This is serious. Like we mentioned, adversarial. It doesn't matter. Look what's going on around us. We have to be concerned about a potential threat. Obviously, everything is so tense globally.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This is a no-brainer. Even if you don't want to even open up that doorway, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, but there is a threat. There is a potential, and we don't know what that threat is, and we should find out more. And it does need, and everything's about the money. We know that. But it takes money to go into the R&D, the research and development, to look into these matters. It has to be done, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that.
I feel like you have a terrible opinion, and I don't want to speak to you anymore. No, you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right, and I don't know. I think a lot of the problem right now too is we have this crazy election happening, so people aren't focused on things like you're talking about, these threats and everything. Everything is about get out and vote. Who's going to win, this side versus that side, what's the future for our country, which it's understandable. But I think, in my opinion, that's why these hearings probably got pushed back as well, because if you do one now, nobody's going to notice. Outside of the UFO community, nobody's going to pay attention because, like you said, there's a lot going on right now. You have the election, you have the stuff going on in the Middle East, you have our country was just hit by a massive storm. Homes in Florida just completely destroyed.
Georgia, North Carolina, horrible.
It's sad. It's really sad to see, the level of destruction. So there's a lot going on right now. So for people that aren't in the UFO world, is now the best time to have these? No. So I think it makes sense to wait.
Yeah. No, there's, like you were mentioning about the global tensions with the Middle East. It's all over the place, Toby. Alaska dealing with the Russian and the Chinese, you've got China with Philippines, you've got the North Koreans, how he always acts up once in a while to get attention. There's just like so many different areas. And like you said, I think the focus right now is on that, the tension that's going on globally. And obviously the hearing's not until November 13th, which is post-election. After the election. So I think a lot more stuff will probably come up in the beginning of the year, depending on all this other stuff, how it plays out. You know what I mean? But look, if there is a next gen, like we always are developing new weapons in the military, the next gen series of advancements, whether it's Air Force, whatever it is, who's to say we're not dealing with a next gen or maybe 3 gens down the line of some kind of an AI-driven drone? Again, this is something they need to look into, and they have to a certain extent. But this is not part of the fiscal budget. There's no plans. It's gutting it. I mean, what the heck is going on, Toby? It's like they're trying to suppress this. Period. They don't want. I really believe that, Toby. They don't want nobody to dig too deep, because I think this is a rabbit hole that they don't want nobody to enter. I'm telling you.
Well, and if you listen to chatter online and behind the scenes, a big part of this the UAPDA Defense Act thing I'm just butchering everything I'm saying today with the acronyms.
I know, right? Again,
A big part is eminent domain. Eminent domain seems to be a huge problem with this amendment they're trying to pass. So obviously, eminent domain would mean the government can go into these private contractors, take what they have. So you hear there's a lot of them lobbying groups, and it is a deep rabbit hole, because if you follow, there's different stories that have been put out. You take like the Wilson Davis memo and stuff like that. If these things turn out to be true, there's probably a lot of illegal things that have been done to get these non-human craft into the hands of private companies.
Exactly it. That's exactly it. Because, and I had a conversation with a very prominent person. I won't mention their name because I'll get in trouble. He wanted us to keep the conversation private, but it had to. I brought it up to him, and he wasn't aware of it. And he said, "You know something, Bill? I'm going to look into this." And people should. The Atomic Energy Act of 1954. And that's when they really started implementing these SAP programs, these special access programs. And some of them, they go through the declassification that Congress people can look at it. But like Rush made the reference, and he is right. Because I downloaded the whole PDF of that. It's a need to know basis only. They don't have to tell anyone what they're working on if they don't want to. That includes civilian and congressional, executive, whatever. They don't have to. And then there's also the classification itself. Does a lot of these people in Congress, like the Gang of Eight, do? But even then, that's questionable. Do they have the level of classifications to go into a SCIF to even see what they're doing? So it's not just that, but then the money. Where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from that's funding these black op special programs? And like you just touched on, which is exactly it, that money from the government is going to contractors. It's going out to these private companies, whether it's Lockheed Martin, Boeing, whatever it is. And they don't want that rabbit hole. They don't want that Pandora's box open, Toby, because they know there's going to be a lot of shady stuff where that money come from. The accountability, because like Burchett said, there's no oversight. There's no oversight on this. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Where's the money coming from? Where are they getting the money from to do all these programs? And I have to say what you said earlier, there is a fine line when the government can just say, okay, I'm confiscating everything that you have. That's a private entity. That's a civilian branch. I mean, not a civilian branch, a civilian company, corporation. Now the government decides they're going to go in and take all our stuff that we've been working on because you want all this stuff now for the government. I don't know about that. Toby. That's crossing to me a little line.
Yeah, and you hear I think Travis Taylor, who obviously is well known in the community, part of Skinwalker Ranch. I know he's one of the people that have spoken out against the eminent domain for that exact reason. We did all this work on this. The government has no right to just come in and take it. And I'm not advocating for either side, because
right. I'm just honestly,
my opinion doesn't matter on this. This is what you hear is things like this are part of the reason this isn't passing. So yeah, it's a lot to think about, but I would suggest anybody that's on like UFO Twitter, if you can track down a copy of Loose Threads. It's a document that was compiled by some researchers after the Wilson Davis notes came out. And it lays out a pretty good idea of how these people that were formerly in power may have gone off to work for these aerospace companies, may have helped them land these lucrative black budget contracts. Like I said, if a lot of illegal things were done to get things where they are now, people are going to fight tooth and nail to never have that come out.
It's not necessarily what you know, Toby. It's who you know.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that I know any of this to be true or not, but think about it. Say there was a non-human craft. If I pulled some strings and I was in government and I got it to this private company instead of here, and then I got them this giant contract to work on this, and then say I retire and I go to work for them and I get a nice fat salary, that seemed Legal, maybe. Conflict of interest, yes. So there's people way more well versed on this than me, so I'll leave it at that. But if anybody wants to track down loose threads, I think that's a pretty good starting point for what is a very plausible explanation for how these things unfolded as far as getting these things into these private contractors' hands.
It's almost like, let's just say, the government that says we're going to come in and we want to confiscate. First of all, how do you know we have what you think we have? What are you going to present a warrant? What are we suspected of? Like, what basis do you have legally to even do something like that? It's just, I can't even comprehend what they would come up with to try to say, well, this was officially a government program and someone decided to get you involved, so we're reclaiming our rights to that. It's some crazy. It's going to be, if that were even to happen, it would be just off the wall. But talking about this November 13th, because hopefully we'll have Matt Laszlo on soon and some others to talk about that James Webb stuff. But aren't you as frustrated as I am? And I'm talking about my own personal opinion. Every time they have these public hearings, they talk about, well, this person says that they told me that they've seen this and they worked around that and this, but we don't get to see nothing because what the person sitting in the chair, well, Mr. or Mrs., whoever it is, I cannot discuss that in a non-classified setting. I'm willing to take this behind closed doors and we could talk about it in a classified, secure setting. So what happens to us? We don't get, we don't get nothing. We don't get to see no photos, videos, documents. We see nothing. And I think the public, you try to keep their attention involved. A week, two later, it's like they don't care because they move on to the next object, shiny object in the corner. They've got to do something. If there is any kind of evidence out there, throw us a bone. I'll take a scrap. Give me anything. I'll give the public something to say that this is going on. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating.
Yeah, that's why.
Do you think that we're going to get anything out of this hearing no matter who's there?
Not if it's classified, we're not going to hear about it. And I mean, you raise a good point, and that's why I think the citizens, normal, average people like us, that's probably where the evidence is actually going to come from. All it's going to take is one person to be in the right place at the right time, to stumble upon something maybe that's been buried somewhere, to get crystal clear footage, video. I don't think waiting for it to come from government is not my plan, at least.
No.
I think these hearings are important, yes, but it's like you said, the second anything gets to be sensitive, like, oh, I have photos of this, or I can tell you where this person said this is stored, skiff. You can't talk about it. You're not going to talk about it on TV. You're not going to talk about it in public. And like you said, outside of the Gang of Eight, really, do any of the other ones have the clearance to hear it? Probably not. I mean, if everything we're hearing is true, which would be, the non-human intelligence, recovered craft, if that's all true, I don't think it's going to be coming out in a public hearing. I mean,
it's not even about the photograph or the video. It's about the technology that they use, because that's what they say. This is what they were saying. This will give our adversaries, the public, whoever, an insight on the kind of technology we have in order to capture a video like this. It may have military intelligence connections where they're not going to reveal that. How did you get this? Then the questions come. What kind of a technology did you use to gain this information? But another thing, Toby, that's going to come out, say I showed you a photo that says, oh my God, this is it. You know how many people are going to say, oh, that's AI created, photoshopped, whatever it is. Now you tease the public with a video or a photo, but even then it's not going to be good enough because it's going to come out. That's not good enough because how do we know that's not something that was created?
So you raised two good points. That's definitely one of them. The other one being, we can't release photos, videos of this because, it's classified technology we use to capture it. Then why did we get a high resolution photo of the Chinese spy balloon last year? And then just this week, or last week actually, a journalist out of Canada got a picture of the object that was shot down in the Yukon, I believe.
Yes.
And it's a tiny little grainy, crappy photo that obviously was photocopied. And in my opinion, it looks like it shows a balloon from the underside with a payload. I'm not saying that's the case, but how come we have an HD photo of the Chinese spy balloon they shot down and recovered, but they won't release any high quality video or images of the other objects from that whole fiasco last year? I mean, obviously they can release the high definition photo right there. You can see the pilot looking right at the balloon, clear as day. What's classified? What's in that photo? Did they strip out all the information that would give everything away? Then do that with the other ones. It's obviously not that hard. You did it once, do it again.
And that's why, like you said, and I agree with you, it's going to be interesting to see what they have to say. But that's it. And you know what really frustrates me, and sometimes the people that are involved in Congress, the people that are seated there asking the questions, how long did you take to prepare for this hearing to ask the relevant questions instead of some other stuff that sounds like you don't know what the hell you're talking about? Walk into that hearing at least having some semblance of what you're going to be talking about and asking these witnesses relevant questions. I guarantee there's a lot of people in the field that if you put them in there, they would, again, they don't want to touch that extraterrestrial thing, interdimensional thing. You have to phrase the question really in an intelligent way so that you're going to get the information out of them. Don't bring up the UFO stuff because they're going to be, they're talking about the aliens. I keep saying that. Approach them from a point where it's an unknown entity. We're dealing with something that's unknown. And just try to get into those details. How does it move? What are the characteristics? Does it make any sound? And then by doing that, the people that are interested in the UFO field are going to say, based on those questions, that has a lot of characteristics on the stuff that we talk about all the time. Then we can make our own, I hate to say it, assumptions or opinions about it. But you're not going to get anything if you're going to ask this ridiculous questions. It just gets me frustrated. Some of the questions that come from these congressmen and women to the witnesses, like, can you please ask a good question?
Yeah.
Right? It's frustrating.
Well,
and you tell how pissed.
It's been 80 years of secrecy so far, at least, right?
But at the same time, it's going to be good to see different people. And I hope they have not 1, 2, 3. I hope they have a nice amount of people, witnesses, that are going to be doing something there, doing, a nice amount of witnesses. So hopefully that'll happen. But can you believe we got less than 5 minutes left to go of this show already?
Feels like we just started.
Dude, between the two of us, we get amped up. We're very passionate about this stuff. And I know the audience, there's a lot of people that are tuning in feel the same way and think the same way because feeling has that emotional derivative involved, but it is a passion. So it is an emotional aspect of it because like everybody else, we're trying to get to the answers here, to the truth of what's really going on. And Toby, like you said, it's been going on for decades.
Well, there's a chance there's an upcoming book that might have some answers. Something you wanted to bring up.
Do we want to touch on that quickly before we wrap?
Real
Jason
quick.
Bratton's book?
Yes, sir.
there's a quote, and it's out of the Hollywood Reporter. And yes, his memoir is coming out, similar to Lou Elizondo coming out with his memoir. And for those, the guy, I'm just going to read this quick because we don't have that much time. And this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, folks. For over 16 years, Stratton worked as a senior intelligence official, leading countless U.S. government investigations of UAP and non-human intelligence, including the Tic Tac. While much of Stratton's work is classified, good luck with that, trying to get what's in that book, because most of it's classified. How much are we going to know? The memoir promises to reveal all that can be lawfully disclosed, providing a first-hand account of the shocking discoveries, challenges, and breakthroughs that have marked the U.S. government's investigation and understanding of UAP and non-human intelligence, as well as the effects on Stratton and his family. We always hear that, how these people, when they come out, how it's at serious personal risk to themselves and the people that they love, their families. That's horrible. But here's the quote that I want to get to. In a statement to the Hollywood Reporter, Stratton said, quote, "We are at the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. The process of disclosure is complex, but it has begun." That's it, end quote. Do you think, dude, you think he might be a person that would be at a future hearing? That would be interesting.
A lot of people have wondered. He obviously was in a position to know some very important information, just like Lou Elizondo, just like David Grush. So, we'll see.
I would like to hear what he has said, but the problem is, in that one sentence, a lot of his work was classified.
Yeah. Let's just change the name of our show to "It's Classified."
Really?
And we'll just run a black bar across the screen the entire show.
Put up documents on the screen. It's all blacked out. Oh, my gosh.
Give me the Sharpie.
As always, we're out of time already on this Monday evening. Thanks for everyone that's tuning in. Any closing thoughts, Toby?
Well, we'll see what the future brings. I guess that's all we can do, right?
And we have a couple of interesting guests planned in the weeks ahead.
Absolutely.
So maybe,
as always,
maybe the person you're referring to.
Yeah. So be sure to check out Ask a Poll. That's Matt Laszlo. Does fantastic work. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. For me and Bill, we will see you guys next week.
Have a great week.
Run.